Welcome to our YouTube video on how to use the Virtual Compliance Assistant to fill out the Certificate of Installation forms for the 2022 Energy Code cycle. We're going to use a project example of an HVAC changeout. We're going to overview the compliance documentation process of the Energy Code and highlight where that Certificate of Installation form fits in. We're going to review what methods are available to complete the Certificate of Installation forms and which methods are no longer available. We're going to concentrate on the Virtual Compliance Assistant, a tool from Energy Code ACE, to complete the documentation process of the Certificate of Installation form using a walkthrough example project of a rooftop package HVAC changeout. What we're talking about today is associated with the 2022 Energy Code. Though the 2022 Energy Code applies for projects that apply for permit as of January 1st of 2023. If they applied for permit before that date, they would be subject to the 2019 Energy Code, and there is a different documentation process for that code cycle. While we're designing a project, we should be considering how does the Energy Code dictate that design. We are going to support how the design documents meet the Energy Code with the Certificate of Compliance form. The Certificate of Compliance form can either be the prescriptive form for mechanical systems, which is the NRCC MEC-E form, or they could utilize the performance approach for their mechanical systems, which would be included in the NRCC PERF form. You need to make sure you know which form was used. These forms are to be included in that design set that was approved by the building department. It's a great place to make sure you know which method was used. The Certificate of Installation form is the contractor stating, I understand what was expected of me by that Certificate of Compliance form, and in fact, the Certificate of Installation form is going to tell you exactly what was promised with the Certificate of Compliance form for you to compare. One, maybe to use this to submit for bidding and submittal review, understanding truly what's expected of your role and your scope of work. But then we're also really going to use that Certificate of Installation form to confirm the install is meeting that original promise of the Energy Code. Certificate of Acceptance forms are testing protocols and testing procedures to confirm that that equipment is working in a way that supports the energy efficiency of the Energy Code. And Certificate of Acceptance forms for mechanical systems as of October of 2021 need to be performed by a certified acceptance test technician. Certificate of verification are provided by HERS raters. We do have one HERS measure associated with non-residential compliance, which is the duct testing protocol. If this was a hotel motel project or a multifamily project, there may be additional certificate of verification requirements. At the end of the day, what we want to get is our certificate of compliance, or certificate of occupancy. We're going to make sure all of these forms are on site and true to the construction that is there. If there's changes during construction, we need to make sure that's reflected with this compliance documentation process. The building departments only need to maintain the Certificate of Compliance form within their records, though they need to confirm that the Certificate of Installation, Certificate of Acceptance, and Certificate of Verification have been provided and do support the work associated with that address, and these forms are to be provided to the building owner at the end of the project. Let's concentrate on the Certificate of Installation form. Now, in previous code cycles, we had paper forms. Paper forms are not utilized anymore, mainly because it does not support the pre-population process of what was promised with the Certificate of Compliance form. So if you see one of these forms, that is not what you're using for the 2022 code cycle. These forms are only to be used for projects that were subject to the previous code cycles. You're going to use the Virtual Compliance Assistant. This is the only means currently available to fill out the Certificate of Installation form. This tool is at no cost, available through Energy Code ACE at www.energycodeace.com. Now, the Virtual Compliance Assistant was developed to help support all the information that goes into the design of a project. So it is collecting the information of the certificate of compliance forms, whether that be that prescriptive or performance method, and populates the certificate of installation form with what was promised. So it's very clear to the contractor, hey, this is what you were supposed to bid on, submit on, install, equal or better. And even if there's substitutions, this tool will help determine if those substitutions are equal or better, exactly the same, or not equal or better, of which then the certificate of compliance form will have to be revised and or the construction revised so that compliance can be achieved. Now, a tip, we need to have a particular compliance ID number. And the compliance ID number is populated when you use the virtual compliance assistant for those certificate of compliance forms, those NRCC forms, or if you use a third-party software choice called Energy Pro. Either of these methods, whether you use the prescriptive or performance method in Energy Pro, will provide that compliance ID and pre-populate the certificate of installation form within the virtual compliance assistant tool on Energy Code ACE. Now, you do need to have an account to be able to access the virtual compliance assistant and also access quite a few other great resources available in Energy Code ACE. This will allow you to tell us about what you do and what type of training, resources, and tools you may be interested in. And it's also how you're going to maintain your project directory of your certificate of installation forms for your various projects. Let's dive into our walkthrough example. Now, there's a three-step process behind this. Step one is going to be gathering the appropriate material, so you're set to go when you're sitting in front of the virtual compliance assistant about what was installed. That might be receipts of what was installed, packing slips, approved submittals, anything supporting that exact equipment, the equipment manufacturer number, and that it was at that address that this was installed. You will need the certificate of compliance form, whether that be the non-residential certificate of compliance form supporting non-residential, hotel, motel, and high-rise residential projects, or the LMCC, which supports low-rise multifamily projects. Step two is actually getting into the virtual compliance assistant and documenting what was installed and confirming it is equal or better than what was promised. If you do not have a compliance ID, was not a certificate of compliance form provided via the virtual compliance assistant or Energy Pro, there is going to be an alternative method to use the virtual compliance assistant tool for the certificate of installation form that will be coming out soon. Step three is to make sure that everything is exactly how you thought it should be. Let's go ahead and print the forms. We do then have to go in and add some information. Because of the protection laws of California, this tool will not collect pertinent information such as addresses and phone numbers and emails. That will have to be provided after the fact with another PDF software choice. You're going to make sure to leave these forms on site for inspection and also to provide to the building owner. You are to complete the certificate of installation is to be the general contractor as the last ditch effort. We want the installing contractor to complete this process, the licensed installing contractor, as is dictated by the Division 3 Business and Professions Code for who takes liability for this work out in the field. Now, our project example here, we have a rooftop HVAC system. It's a 10-ton system, and we're going to replace this 10-ton system with another 10-ton system. This one's not working well. It's time to be replaced. The only scope of work is changing out this piece of equipment. Now, do be aware there will be acceptance testing associated with this project. We're not going to go through that in this video. And that acceptance forms, as stated earlier, as of this code cycle, will need to be done by a certified acceptance test technician. Both the certificate of compliance form, the LMCC or the NRCC, and the certificate of installation form will help you and provide guidance on what pieces of equipment need to be tested and what that testing protocol is. We may also have HERS measures that have to be confirmed and tested by a HERS rater, such as that duct testing. Again, the certificate of compliance form will tell us when that's needed, and also the certificate of installation will support what additional testing may be needed. We're going to make sure that we have documentation that supports exactly what's installed. Here I have an approved cut sheet of the specific information of that mechanical equipment. I'm also going to make sure I have anything regarding thermostats or any other equipment that may be installed with the scope of this project. Now, what's the important thing to make sure you have before you go into the virtual compliance assistant is having the certificate of compliance form that was used and approved at plan check, and that's going to be included in the plan set. And we're going to make sure that we can find the compliance ID in the lower right-hand corner. Now remember, if you don't have a compliance ID, there will be an alternative method of doing this, but we're going to be showing you the method that is reliant upon that compliance ID number. So we're going to go to the virtual compliance assistant and start working on this project together. So here we are on the Energy Code ACE website, and I like to start from the My Account section, and under there you will see My Projects. You will need to be signed in for this to work. So we are going to start a new project, and we're going to select the new installation form option. It's going to ask how we're getting our documentation process information, and that will be the compliance ID we're getting from the certificate of compliance form. You can label the project whatever you want, including addresses, job numbers, etc. This is totally up to you. We're going to put in the project city and the zip code. The zip code helps the virtual compliance assistant determine the appropriate climate zone, which is important for many of the inputs associated with these projects. This is the 2022 version. This is not a 4-story building that includes dwelling units, and we're doing the mechanical installation form. And here's where we put in that compliance ID we find on the lower right-hand corner of the Certificate of Compliance form, the NRCC MEC form. Now, the virtual compliance assistant is actually creating these forms as we're putting in the information. So there are going to be pauses as it's collecting information and making sure everything it's showing you on the screen is fresh to the information you have provided. So we're going to be putting in our building permit and the authority having jurisdiction. We're going to put in the date of the permit set that was provided as approved by the building department, and if there's any as-built sets that are utilized because there have been changes, we're going to put in that date. Be aware if there are any changes that affect compliance from that permit set, the certificate of compliance will most likely need to be redone. We're going to select the scope of work applicable to your work as the contractor. So I know this is a little hard to see. It's getting a little bit easier on your own screen, but it gives us all the information here associated with the HVAC system. And we're going to select either yes, it exactly matches, and we're going to provide the model number of the HVAC system that's installed. Or potentially we might say no, or hey, guess what? This isn't in my scope of work. Someone else has to do it. So here's an example of an economizer, and we're going to use a different type of economizer. So we're going to say, no, this isn't exactly what we want to install. Now, it is linked to the fan information, so you're going to have to say, okay, yeah, this is one fan. It's a supply fan. We're going to copy the information from above that is exactly the same, but we are going to pick a different economizer. We're going to pick a fixed temperature economizer instead of differential, and we're going to keep that same 2.57 fan energy kW because that fan has not changed. Fan energy index is not going to apply, and we're going to say, yep, that still is in play. Yes, we've got the information that we need for our thermostats, but guess what? I thought I was done, but I missed something. Something popped up. So this tool will help you. Hey, you forgot to fill out something. Check this out. Make sure that the information that is being reported is exactly what you installed. We're going to go ahead and say, yep, this is exactly what we installed or plan on installing. So we save and continue, and that's when it's calculating and putting all that information in together, and it's bringing me on to system controls. I'm going through here and making sure all the systems installed or verified as installed do meet these requirements so that I can say yes, what the install matches is what was promised by the certificate of compliance document. So now it's going to go, okay, guess what? You filled out everything and everything looks great. It's equal or better, so you are ready to do the final bits and pieces. I like to always look at and confirm the certificate of acceptance forms, what is needed for which equipment type. Going to confirm what's going on with verification forms. I don't need any. Great, I didn't think I did. I'm going to confirm, yep, these are the certificates I feel that are appropriate. And then it's going to say, hey, you can add the responsible person now, or I like to just do it in the PDF since I have to put in information into that PDF anyway, and I'm going to go ahead and print the PDF. So here we are in a PDF software of your choice, bringing in that NRCI form. There's still things we need to do, such as put in the project address on each page. I'm going to go through and review that everything that's on this form is appropriate. I'm going to check and make sure what I've put in here is what I meant to, that it really is something I feel represents what has been installed. I'm going to look through all of this carefully. I'm going to verify that what is being documented does support the contracted work. Here's some information about the duct leakage. I don't have to do HERS verified duct leakage, but I do need to meet duct leakage per the mechanical code. Confirm the certificates, and then sign as the documentation author, and then I'm going to have to make sure to put in any information that's not already there and get it signed off by the responsible person. So we have our certificate of installation form, and again, remember, you are going to have to use some sort of PDF software to come back in here and put in the project address on each page and complete the documentation author signature and responsible person signature information. Again, because of the state of California protection laws, this is information that is not collected by the virtual compliance assistant. There are so many other tools available through Energy Code ACE, not just the Virtual Compliance Assistant. I also suggest checking out Reference ACE or Q&ACE, which are tools to help you understand the code. We have lots of training on how to do your job and various features and various building types, and you might want to check out the other videos we have on our YouTube video station. And we have resources such as fact sheets, trigger sheets, checklists, and various things to help you understand and apply your role in the Energy Code compliance process. We're here to help you out as a no-cost tool. Join us at Energy Code ACE for more information and more exciting things associated with the 2022 Energy Code.